Hi guys, we're back after I think exactly with the conclusion to the Summer Pockets set review. We're going through blue this time. We have a couple of trial deck cards that are worth talking about, and then we have the rest of the blue booster, and then we'll be done with Summer Pockets, and maybe we can move on to something else. Only 3 months late. Anyway,
Sweet.
first card is yeah, Tsumugi at the Twilight Lighthouse. This is
Just
a runner.
unplug your charger real quick.
Do that. This is a runner. So basically, it is a high quality plus at levels. Well, I say high quality. It's a fairly quality plus at level 0. It helps evade level 1 plussing combos on reverse. It's a fair staple in most decks that have them, but at this point, it can be substituted with any level, like any 4K level 1 or any other powerful standalone effect. That being said, this is a fine effect for any set to have. I'm just going to give this one a B because it's just a fine card to have. I don't think there's really much to add. It's a rather straightforward card. This next card is less straightforward, and I think is probably a bit overrated by a lot of the Japanese community. This is because of Summer Ale. This is a draw two ditch one. Come in play, and when it attacks, you can ditch 2 cards. If you do, you may put the bottom 4 cards of your opponent's deck in the waiting room and deal X damage, where X is the number of climaxes you put in the waiting room via bottoming their bottom 4 cards. So this is an effect with a is really high ceiling because if you hit a climax out of their deck, that's one less cancel they have in the greater scheme of things, and that's extra damage you're dealing to them. But on the other hand, if you get rid of 4 non-climax cards, well, that's really bad for you.
Mm,
Like you just lost cards to do stone nothing.
I think on average though it's gonna be like a burn one or something.
Yeah, it'll be a burn 1 on average, I think. So on attack, ditch 2, burn 1. What do you think about that?
Uh,
Ignore the fact that you're taking a cancel out. What do you think about just that effect if it said burn 1?
I think that would be pretty. I think that'd be fine. I think that'd be pretty good considering the
Hmm.
card pluses you want to play. It's a
Yeah.
stock. This would be like a stockless burn one, right?
Yeah, that's
Beyond
I
the
think
like
yeah.
play it for the dig, then you burn one whenever, right? And sometimes the burn one effect will happen to do some other crazy stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes like the effects of the card isn't it's not like up to variance because it's also like a little bit of deck manipulation, opponent deck manipulation, and in some like more rare cases, it's like an absolutely nutty play, right? So like
Yeah. Like if they've got a very thin deck.
yeah,
If they've got a 6 card deck with 2 climaxes, for example.
yeah. It's not that rare against
Uh
good players.
yeah. But
Yeah.
against something like that, it's not only do you force refresh, but there is a chance that you completely wreck them. Like
Yeah.
you just destroy their quote unquote compression and get through.
Like if you happen
Now,
to destroy
mm,
their compression, it's almost like this becomes more than a burn one in that case, right?
yeah.
Uh,
I should mention that this isn't just a burn 1. Like burn 1 is an effect where it's something that you prefer to do last, right? If you can help it, unless you're setting up really good burn damage. Whereas this effect, I think you'd much rather do first. Because in the best case scenario, you're going to get climax out their deck and you're going to maximize the damage that your other attacks will do now that there are fewer climaxes. And in the worst case scenario, well, I mean, it's bad always, so it doesn't really matter.
yeah.
This is the sort of
Well,
effect you'd rather attack with first, right?
yeah. Well, yes. If milling the bottom four cards of their deck actually matters for the
Yeah.
battle phase, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
Most of the time, a lot of times it just won't matter because like your attacks would never have seen those four cards to begin with. But in the
Yeah.
case where your attacks would have, you know, seen those four cards possibly, you know, it's a house, right? It's like this is an
Yeah.
awesome effect in that case. But
Look, yeah, sometimes this card is great, sometimes it's not. I think the fact that it's a cantrip, that it comes in play and draws 2, ditches 1, means that it's very low cost to just include, because this lets you, dig for a standby climax if you need to use your finish. That effect, It actually gets better in multiples, I feel, because if you
Yes.
have it in multiples, you open up the option of being able to force them to refresh, and that's one extra damage, which is already pretty good.
Overall,
And
not
it
too costly to do
yeah,
multiples either, because it's cantrip on play, right? So,
it's a cantrip, yeah. So
uh,
it's not actually too bad. It's like an on attack ditch one. And it also can push your opponent from a state where they were preparing for like some sort of compression, but are no longer able to prepare. Like you can catch your opponent off guard by getting rid of a large number of cards in it. So yeah, overall, I think this is a very powerful effect to have when it's not tied to a climax and when it's just something you can splash. Um, I, I think it's questionable as to whether you would want to invest a climax slot on this, which is why I don't, rate Psychano super highly. But I do think that having access to this effect can really be powerful. It can be garbage, but most of the time it's very good to have this effect. And on a cantrip, that just makes it even better. Um, I'm not going to give it an A minus. I'm going to give it a B plus because um, this is a really powerful effect, but sometimes it just does nothing. And you're always taking this chance that you go from a game where you're like 60% to win to a game where suddenly you are very unlikely to win.
yeah, that's fair. I think I would rate like so regularly. I'd probably rate a card like this, like if it were just a burn one, right? Like a B plus. But I think the extra potential ceiling that's like utter like absolutely controllable, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
under the
yeah.
player's control as to how effective this effect might be. I think that pushes it a little over the top for
Well,
me.
there's always some risk involved. Like it's not a
Of
risk
course,
where
of
like
course.
you're losing cards, but it's a measured risk. Like
But I think it's like easily
you
like
can
a
do the
risk you would take. Like I think it's a very
yeah, you literally
smart
can do the
risk to
math on
take.
this.
Yeah, yeah. When it's
Yeah,
effective.
so
So
when this card is good, it is a very very powerful effect. But I think that there are times where it looks good, but in the fail case, it's so bad that it can actually lose you the game, and that's why I'm not giving it as high a score as you. But I think a B plus is a
that's
very high
fair.
score anyway. So
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I have no problems with B plus.
yeah. All right. Next card is a blue pseudo Ricky. It's special adventure Kamome. When you place this from hand to stage, mill two. If there's a climax there, you can mill your opponent for one and then replace their top card with any card in their waiting room, which is an effect that doesn't actually mean very much. It's just a mill two in my eyes. And then when this dies, you can pay one and clock yourself. If you do, salvage a level one or lower character. Ignoring the egregious fact that it's a blue card that salvages. I don't know. I'm not sold on this card.
I'm pretty under normal circumstances for like any other deck. I think I would like this card a lot more, but for a deck that relies on level twos at level one, I think this is like a much worse profile.
Yeah, you don't hand sculpt properly. Just by getting level ones. Like I get that there are level ones involved in the combo, but being only able to grab the level ones is much much worse than being able to grab
Yes.
anything, even if it's just
Uh,
even if it's a straight plus.
Unironically, I think a drop searcher would be better suited for the slots this would take normally in a regular deck.
I agree with you, but that's not exactly the case because drop searches suck.
Drop searchers are awesome. They're so versatile.
This card is
Best card in the
pretty
game.
it's pretty average. It's like it's a mill two that has a mediocre plussing effect. I think this gets a lot better in like pirate pockets, but
Yes, for
I'm
sure.
not trying to rate that deck. Like
I
that's not
think that
something I
deck's
care.
okay. I think this card's fairly versatile though, in spite of it
Look,
not
man,
like meshing that well
yeah,
with the main deck of
it's
choice.
fine. Like it does a
Uh,
bunch of things, but it does nothing particularly well. Like it's not a Ricky when you want a Ricky. It's on reverse Ricky to make that even worse, and it's not a powerful mill effect. Like if you want a powerful mill effect, the next card is what we look at, and it's that other pseudo finisher effect where you magically mill an opponent's climax. I mean,
yeah,
it sounds good,
it
but
doesn't
I think that's
doesn't do anything.
it's one of those effects that is traditionally overrated because like someone's gonna play against Bang Dream and Mocha, and Mocha's gonna completely wreck their deck
I
and
mean,
kill
it's like
them
a top
from
deck one, right? If it hits, basically,
yeah
essentially. But like, that's such a um, non-impactful effect in the grand scheme of the
yeah.
game.
But
So,
that's the thing. People will overrate it because they play against like Mocha and they
of
get wrecked by
course,
it,
yeah.
and then they're like,
Well,
oh, this is
okay.
the best
Let's
finisher
hold
edition.
up. You can't compare. Mocha is a way better effect.
I agree,
than this,
but the
right?
point is that this has enough similarities that people are going to overrate effects like this
I
constantly.
think people have been overrating this effect since way before Mocha was even a card,
Oh, I agree with that as
right?
well, but
Yeah.
this
I think
he
it's
does
just
not
the
make.
nature of like players to just kind of react badly to this kind of effect because we tend to
Yeah.
remember, well, when it screws us.
Well, I
Um,
mean, some people haven't even played against Sengoku Basara and still think that effect is powerful. Like,
eh,
whatever,
well,
man. All right,
yeah,
next
just an
next card.
average card, I think. Maybe slightly
It
better
is
than average
average,
for me.
unfortunately. Mysterious Scene. Oh, this is a 1/0 recollection card, and the recollection ability is Azusa. When you play it from hand to stage, you ditch a card from hand, look at four, and add a sum of pockets to hand, put the rest in waiting room. Super powerful effect. Hasn't been printed very much lately, which only exemplifies how powerful this effect really is. And
And
basically,
notably, the
mhm,
requirement to use this effect has the floor has been raised a little bit, I think, compared to previous
yeah, yeah,
iterations.
it forces you to have a initial stock investment. It's not a bad stock investment. It's just a card which is not something you would immediately put in your deck otherwise, and I think that's fine. Um, I think this is one of the reasons to be blue in this set. It's just a super powerful effect, always will be, always has been, and yeah, I can't say much about it. It's a really powerful manipulation effect that helps with selectivity, helps with bad deck states, just helps in general.
I want to note that for the to get this card to get the card you need in memory, it relies also like on additional targets of a different card being in the waiting room. So
Only if you do the, well, yeah, yeah, sure, you're right,
I
you're right.
mean, you're not going to use the first effect
No, no, you are
with the
not.
target not in the bin, dude. That's just not happening.
Uh, no, you
Yeah,
really
like
aren't.
right. How good is an Odyssey that's effectively pay one ditch two? Is essentially
Yeah,
that would be like, that's
yeah.
not. I don't
Look,
think that's
this
realistic.
whole package is just strong enough to see play. Each
Yeah.
of the cards by themselves have strong enough decks to see play, and as a result, them needing each other is not really that big a cost.
Well, I'm just worried about So the time when you need this card the most, right, is like first deck. Sometimes you just won't get this
Yeah,
due
but sometimes
to
you don't get
the
your level
waiting
one combo
requirements.
either. Like I'm not going to put weight on that because it's not actually that difficult to draw two specific cards.
Well, I also don't rate this effect as highly as I used to, so
I know, but you're
there
a
it
bad
is.
player who only rates Milky and drop searches, so we can ignore you. All right, next card is something I want to talk about, Sanugi, which is a 3295. Recollection, if you have this bad event in the memory, this gains 1/5 power, so it goes to being an 11k base, which is fine, I guess. When it comes to play, draw two, ditch two, stock one. So if you have everything sorted, this is a one cost 11k two sorbet, which is, I mean, it's okay. Let's keep reading. When this attacks, if you have lots of memories, which is a book in the climax zone, and another Summer Pockets character, you may pay cost. If you do, this gains 2k power and the following ability until the end of your opponent's next turn. At the start of your opponent's attack phase, choose up to X of your opponent's characters to lose one soul for the turn, where X is the number of your picture found in the storage, the bad event I mentioned earlier, in your memory.
Um, I forget
Can
if
you
this has
advance
come
some of
out.
this?
Can
You
this
can't
come out
advance some
early?
of
I'm
this,
trying
can
to
you?
think. I'm trying. I don't remember. I don't think you can.
If you can't advance some of this,
Which is
I mean,
probably why I don't. You don't see this card played very often.
I mean this card is would only ever be good if it was playable level two.
I mean,
If you
right?
can't play it
I
level
mean,
two,
this has a
this
really good
card is just
CIP, right?
bad.
Oh, I mean, if it were in real play, this is a pretty good CIP. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, it's a good come and play. If we are to ignore the fact that the event is garbage,
okay, yeah, sure.
then look, the event is it, let me bring up the event. I forget exactly what it does. That's how bad it is.
The event is it's like a clock. It's a pay one clock swap, and when it's in memory, everything gets 500 power.
Yeah, so it's complete garbage. Um, and this card isn't good enough to elevate garbage to playable, unfortunately. If you can't early summon this without like a standby, which is I don't count that. That gives you an entire turn cycle where
Man,
you don't
that's
actually use this.
yeah.
That doesn't count. As a result, this card just is not good enough, unfortunately. It is, objectively speaking, it's a reasonably powerful card. It's just that every single card tied to it kind of sucks and doesn't have the support it needs to come out. So I'm just going to give it a C because, look, there is a possibility this card is really powerful in the future. If they bring out a second set or an anime set or whatever, and you can advance some of this card, there is a chance you could neg soul your opponent's entire board, and that's mildly terrifying. And the thing is, it's not even a continuous effect. You just get to do it at the start of your opponent's attack phase. But for now, I can't give it anything higher than a C. And honestly, I think C is really generous. I'm gonna give it a C minus. I can't see myself playing this until some enormous amount of support's been given.
Yes.
All right, next card. My plan of attack, Tsumugi. It is a 001k assist, and it has Brainstorm, pay 1, tap 2, which climax you hit, search for a Summer Pockets character, add it to hand. Um,
I think the
this is
salvage one is
this is
better.
just no. It's not as good. Like for example, some level zeros that you might want to play if you want to brainstorm early. There's the arrow that you send to memory. That one needs to tap itself and then goes away, so you don't even get to have a card you can brainstorm with. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think that tapping two is just a prohibitive cost at level zero, and at any other point in time, I mean, it doesn't matter as much, but there's no reason why it would be any better than tapping a
If
single.
the salvage brainstorm had a worse uh, additional utility, um, I think this would definitely be more up for consideration. But
I mean, I don't value plus 500 power that highly. Like, I get this is a wall deck, but even so, I don't think particularly special.
let me think. Uh, it's usually like 9K. I mean,
Hmm.
9.5 versus 9K essentially uh,
Yeah.
is usually what's happening here. Um, and then like 9.5. Well, it's usually gonna be 9. It's usually gonna be 9K base without this.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess that's a fair point.
I'm just
Yeah.
not
All right.
convinced that the
Yeah. Yeah.
500 does very much. I'm just gonna give this card
Yeah.
a
This is also
very
worse with
typical
standby.
grade.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any. There's not a good bounce back card for standby
This is
units.
still just a brainstorm. You can't really rate it poorly.
Yeah.
Like, and search is a fine effect. Like, it's not like draw two ditch one where it's not selective at all, and you're not hurting for ditch out, so that doesn't get any consideration. This card's fine. Like, I
Yep.
don't see any reason it's bad, but it's just not as good as the competition.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next card. Thinking of Little Sister, This is the memory card that we've been talking about this entire time. It's a 0/0. It has two effects that send it to memory. The first one is when it is reversed, you can pay one, ditch your hand card, and send this to memory to salvage a 1/1 AO, which is like a
It's the
not salvage. You put
red
it
one,
into play.
I
Yeah,
believe.
you
Yeah.
put the
It's
I
this
think
one.
it's like a 7k encore or something. Put it into
It's a
play.
7.5 hand encore.
Sure. Which is a fine card.
It's
One you
okay.
wouldn't normally play more than one or two of, but I mean, I don't think this is actually enough to make you play
The
that
one
card.
one? No, probably not.
Thankfully, it has another effect though. Pay one, send this standing card to memory, so you can't use this as tap fodder. Choose up to one level 3 arrow in your waiting room, add it to your hand,
It's
which is,
the finisher.
perfectly reasonable to do at most points in time. The awkward thing is, one of the main ways you would be milling cards would be the Azza, and you can't actually use the Azza effect until you've gotten one of these in memory, so there's a bit of a catch-22 there. But either way, it's not too hard to get one of your, probably four odds into waiting room and get it back to your hand with this. You can just clock it or have it milled naturally, etc., etc.
Just a lot of cards you need.
Yeah, I
I think
agree with
this
that.
card. I think by itself, this card is pretty good though. Um,
Yeah, like it's fine. I don't. I mean, it's nothing special. It's just a card that goes to memory, and uh, it's basically like a ditch salvage for the level 3.
yeah.
which is, fine. I wouldn't rate this card anywhere near, like, anywhere except for the fact that it is the easiest way to get memory and absolutely required for memory in a lot of instances. So yeah, B minus reflects the fact that it is not like a particularly powerful card by itself, but it opens the door for so much more.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next card, Veranding. Is that what? Veranding.
Don't ask
Oh
me,
wow,
dude.
that's actually what it says in, yeah. Anyway, it's probably something stupid. When it is placed from hand to stage, it gains 500 times the number of your summer pockets characters. So it's 7k or 7.5 for a turn, and then it goes back to being a 5k. Whatever. I'm just not interested in this sort of card. I really would rather not play it.
I agree.
All right, next card. I saw Ricardo. So this is a this is part of your finisher. We talked about this in the red part where we talked about the finisher. Um, Basically, what this card does is restand a bunch of times, and every time it attacks, it gives soul to something, which is
Yeah.
so. Yeah, what this does is the other climax combo when it does stuff, this card restands. So you attack with this. I should probably talk about what this card actually does. So if there's a marker under this, which is gotten from the other card's climax combo, it becomes 11/5 base, which is quite respectable. It gives 1/5 global, so it makes it's a global support. That's pretty good for a beta. During battles involving this, opponents can't play events or backup from hand, which is a fine effect. It stops money counters, it stops sack counters, it stops. Well, I don't think sack counters matter, but it stops all. Do they matter? I don't think the other. I don't think the finish is on reverse, is it?
It's
It's
not
been a
on
while.
reverse. It's not on reverse.
Yeah, so
It's just
it stops
after
soul
the attack.
counters.
After the attack.
Yeah, it stops a bunch of stuff basically. Um, and when this attacks, if you have two more other Summer Pox characters, choose one of your characters to gain one soul. That can include this one if you want to side attack. That can include one of the level threes if you want that one to side. It's just a really versatile card that can build towards a more precise, or it can just, be a restand that is very hard to stop. And that gets points in my book. I think that is actually somewhat valuable.
They really stuffed a lot of stuff, a lot of good text onto this card, for
Yeah,
sure.
like the text. Well, the text extends to another card, so it's like two cards worth of text
Yeah.
that this card benefits from, and that's really strong.
Yeah. I think this is also notable because it makes the 2-1 game plan just that much better. Like,
Yeah,
one
absolutely.
five power is certainly enough for those 2-1s to scale pretty well into level 2.
Yes, and this gives, and if it is still on field for the finish term or whatever, you can give it extra soul with this one as well. So
Mm-hmm.
that makes
Yeah.
up for that deficit, which is, I think, relevant.
Uh, I think this card is a large reason why the deck is as good as it is, honestly. Um, Field decks often need like a little bit of help to be, that much better than the rest of the competition. And this card comes in at the right time to give a lot to the deck, and it's especially relevant because it's also just the late game part of the late game engine. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, really like this card.
All right. Yeah, good card. All right. Um, what was I about to say? All right, next card.
We're gonna rate,
Wait, what was
rate
I
this.
doing?
I think
I
a
have
B,
to
B
give the rating.
plus.
I'm giving
I
it a
think
B
it's
plus.
yeah.
I think it's just good enough to be that. All right, next card. Realized Reality, Kamome. This is another Kamome level 3. During your turn, if you have Hardworking Maid in your Kamome in your memory, this gains 3k power to be a 13k on your turn, which is pretty formidable. Um, Not actually that special, but whatever. It means this card is anyway. During the turn, this is placed from hand to stage at the start of your encore step. If this is in the front row, put one card on top of your library in stock. Choose a climax. Sorry, put a card from the top of your deck in stock. Choose a climax in your hand with treasure in it. Reveal it and return it to the deck, and then shuffle your deck.
Uh,
Um, what do
Only
you think?
relevant
This
for
is,
the pirate deck,
of course, but this
but
is not an effect that we've seen ever.
yeah.
Like, well, I mean, we've seen some reshuffle effects. Like, there's DC Aoi that does a similar thing, but
Is that one
I
free?
don't think I don't remember. I could look at it. I've got some SPs, but like I don't remember
Oh,
exactly
there's
what it
also
does.
like the now. I think. Wait, no, no, that doesn't count. Sorry,
Whatever.
sorry, sorry.
Point is, this exact effect has never showed up before. But what this basically is in the eight treasure deck, if your deck is somewhat compressed, then the idea is that you trigger a bunch of those, and then with that, you can then put them back and turn that quote unquote downside into an upside. Um,
Yes.
I don't know how
Uh,
powerful this effect actually is, though. Like, is this powerful? I
uh,
can't.
it's really good if you're already compressed. Like,
Yeah, if you're already
like
compressed.
amazing. It's like I feel like it's yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be good
But
if you're compressed. Like it's pseudo anti-damage. It's
but
adding
if
another
yeah yeah
climax.
if you're not compressed though, it's just
Yeah, it's pretty bad
whatever.
if you're not
Yeah
compressed.
yeah.
Yeah, no. This obviously only goes in the pirates deck. I don't know if it's enough to make that deck super viable by itself, but I do think it's a powerful, unique effect.
Let's
So I'm just
see.
gonna give it a plus.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right,
Very cool card.
next card. Yeah, I think it's a cool effect, and it really gets rid of one of the weaknesses of the eight treasure deck,
Yeah.
which is triggering all of them. All right, next card. Are we in the uncommons yet? We're in the uncommons, sure. When this is reversed in battle, with the level of the battle, la di da di da, it's a bottom deck bomb for level 0. And when placed from stage to hand, you can drop search for a recollection card. Um, it's kind of neat. Don't think it's super powerful, but it's kind of neat.
Uh, yeah. I mean, this is all right.
Yeah, like
Um,
there are a lot of good targets. You can get your Azza, you can get pretty much any level 3 that you want to get. Uh, yeah, no, I think it's probably fine.
would I run this over a drop search or anything? I don't think so. But
I don't think I'll run this because
if there
I
were
don't value.
if there
Mhm.
were if your climax combo were reliant on if both pieces had recollection text on them, then I would then I think this would be far more worthy of attention. But I think the part
How? Um,
well, I
yeah,
think the
go
card pool is
on.
just slightly too restrictive for any
Yeah,
deck to for this to be played.
I also don't put any stock in the first effect. It's not terrible.
I mean, it's like nice. It's like you know, eh, it's fine. It's like nice text to have on a card you'd already be playing, right? So
Yeah, but I don't think the effect is good enough to want to already quote unquote already.
well,
Like
sure,
I don't think.
but if the different if this was like if it's the difference between running a regular drop searcher that searches for all the cards you want and this drop searcher that searches for that would hypothetically search for anything you want. Plus, it's a bottom deck bomb. I think that's a fine. That's like a fine. You know, it'd be a fine card to
Okay,
run.
it's not terrible. It's not terrible. Sure.
Yeah,
All right, I'm just going to give it a C because I think that the effects together are almost enough to be good. It's very, very close, unfortunately.
yeah.
All right, next card
This is not
is
Umikato. Uh, that's my bad.
uh,
You
no,
can
it is
just
not.
you can just
This is
read it.
AO, the seventh. If you have the AO in memory, which is,
Uh,
I mean, it'll happen, but you have way too much going on to play something like this,
there's
right?
more powerful stuff to be playing. I think you
Yeah,
already
like
have
this card is not terrible.
slots. Yeah, I mean you already have slots
You've got
dedicated to
so much.
your combo, to your Azusa. Then
Yeah,
there's this.
basically it's
Yeah,
everything. You, I don't think you have room to play this card.
I agree. Yeah, it's just C actually.
It's like a kind one-off, but if I want to play a one-off oversized level 1, I think I'd rather play the 1/1.
Sorry, the one. Oh, the 7/5. Sure, that's fair enough.
Yeah, occasionally Mizek levels like a powerful level 0 points. Not impossible, just very unlikely.
It's
I
fair enough.
don't know. All right, next card, Sleeping Over, Kamome. When it's placed from hand to stage, you can pay 2. If you do, search your deck for a climax card with the same name as a climax in your waiting room and add it to your hand. And climax combo, discard a Chasing Dream, which is a pants from your hand to waiting room at the start of your opponent's attack phase. You may ditch that. If you do, give a character 4K for the turn.
Okay,
This is trash.
yes. Oh no. So the second effect is trash. I think the first effect is pretty sick.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's really cool, right? I think it's like an extra copy of your
Is it?
climax, right? I think this is uh
Okay, let's
it
break it
def
down.
oh
So what you're saying isn't wrong. Like it lets you search a climax that you have in your deck already,
it's a
but
plus. It's a
why is
plus as well,
okay? But
right?
it's also very highly costed. It
But that's fine,
decompresses
right?
you
Your
in
combo
handy.
stock charges you, right? I
Yeah.
think that's fine.
But it decompresses you in some instances. Like that's just an objective truth.
Sure.
And like, why is this any better than just pay to salvage a climax?
But you don't have a pay to salvage climax in the set.
Yeah, sure. But talking about the effect, I don't think it's like a particularly special effect. It's just pay to salvage a climax, except you also decompress.
All I'm saying is this is just a card that increases the consistency of your combo in a way that no other card in this set can. Right? It's just another angle from which you can
Okay, I
attack
could
to
say this is
increase the
like a
percentages, right?
one-off, but
Yeah, of course. Just like a one of, right?
this is a very weak one-off. Like this is not a card I
The
would
only way
want
it
to
is
play.
yeah the only way this card flies is because the level one combo is so important that it just makes cards like this I think quite a little bit better than they normally would be.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it improves the consistency of your level 1 combo, which you are very reliant on.
Right. If this is the difference,
But
if paying two stock is the difference between not having the combo and having the combo, I think I'd pay the two stock for sure.
I feel like no, I feel like you've got a problem not just with that, but with getting all the characters as well, and that's
Sure.
like not easy.
And you run. I mean, and obviously you deck build with that in mind too. But I think this is like a lot of decks don't have access to an effect like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think take all the help you can get. And
Yeah,
this
sure.
effect is definitely like a pretty
I
unique one
mean, the
to.
fact that this exists is certainly not a bad thing. I just
Yeah,
don't think it's particularly
it's
good.
not amazing. I'm just saying like, uh, if you're min maxing, I think this is a good card to have as like a one of.
Sure. Next card, Morning Water Buff, Kamome, 2/1 assist, gives 1k in front, and if you've got 2 or more pirates in memory, this becomes a 2k assist in front. Is this played?
No, I mean, I
Uh,
thought it
I,
was until it's really funny. The funny thing about this card is, I I uh
you
I
lost to Pirate Pockets badly. It was hilarious.
wait a second. Oh, wait. I used to thought for some reason I thought this was like a um call it 2K to level threes. Man, this card is not that good. But I used to think this card was better than it was because I didn't realize that the 3/2 blue card was a global 15. So I was like,
Mm,
I need a card that can boost. I need a card that can boost my 2/1s. What am I gonna do? Yeah, I just didn't realize it was a global 15. So I thought this card was a lot better than it
I
was.
don't know.
But
This card's probably playable in Pirate Pockets. I don't know. I haven't built that deck.
I don't think you'd gain that much from the power in that
Okay,
deck.
sure.
Uh,
I guess you're the expert in losing to Pirate
yeah,
Pockets.
dude, I beat that deck in Swiss. Okay, I just lost the runback. Salty 1/1.
Yeah, you lost to it when it mattered. All right.
Dude, that game in
Next
Swiss
card.
mattered. What are you talking about?
No, no, didn't matter. Next card, Roll of the Sorocado Household. Oh, this is a 2/2, which is interesting in this day and age. If you have 2 or more other Summer Pockets characters, this becomes a 9/5 with Hand Encore. Oh no, is this Hanakawa? Is this Hanakawa?
No, it's not.
Just kidding. When this attacks, if you have a book, Weight of Memories in the Climax Zone, and all your characters have Summer Pockets trait, not very difficult. Look at 2 cards from the top of your deck, add up to 2 Summer Pockets characters you find there to your hand, and this gains 2k for the turn. No.
Yeah.
There are like there are probably like 3 combos you'd rather play in Twins, and I don't think you can play a mono AO deck. I don't think that exists. So whatever, D because bad climax combo. All right. Next card, we get into commons. Chibihari, commons or PRs.
This is common. This is
500
common.
assist. And when you place this from hand to stage, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's summer pockets, add it to your hand, ditch hand, card from hand. This card is like a freaking. It'd be a rare like a year and a half ago. Uh, I don't know. This has a bunch of okay effects. It's a ditch out, which is fine if you're not playing the ROI uh,
Ooh.
not combo, but like the package. Um, it's a fine card. It's nothing special.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh my god, really? Okay. Naked Anniversary
Yeah, this card's pretty
Rarichi.
good.
If there are no other weapon characters on your field, this card loses clothes and gains the ability Global 500. If you do have a weapon character, this gains 2k power on your turn.
There's probably some gag here that
Yeah, there's definitely flavor here, but flavor doesn't get me any points, so F for flavor.
Wait, it's a global. Okay, we're giving Fs to global fives.
God, fine. I was doing F for flavor, but all right, it's a D. Hmm. Well, no, don't do that. D.
FD.
All right, next card. This is a weapon trait, right? No, this is sports trait. When this is placed from waiting room to stage. Oh my god. Put the top card of your deck under this as a marker. When this attacks, if there's a marker under this, you may pay cost. If you do, choose one of your opponent's level zero cost zero lower characters and bottom deck. Oh my god. Um, and when this attacks, if there's no marker under this, you may pay cost. If you do, choose a cost. Cost is discard a card. Choose a cost zero or lower. I am so lost with this card. Okay, so if it has no marker, you can ditch card to bottom deck an opponent cost zero. In the front row, and if it has a marker, you can pay 2 to choose any of your opponent's cost zero characters and bottom deck it.
I believe uh the only way you can get this summon this from the waiting room is via standby. There might be another card that does that for you, but
Maybe it's a trial deck card.
I'm not sure. I think the only way we know of right now to do this
There's an
is with
event.
standby. Oh, there's an event. Okay, sure.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not a good event.
as would be expected. I think
Alright.
the stitch cost is okay. Like, I'm not gonna run this card. I don't think
No,
anybody's gonna
no
run this
one's gonna
card.
run this
No one's
card.
gonna run this card. But like conceptually, right? Ideally, you're using it to take out one, a high value target, and two, you're using it to create extra soul, right? And I think if you meet those conditions consistently, then this is like okay, like maybe
Look, if you run this,
slightly worse than okay.
if you run this card, it's very clearly to piss somebody off.
Yeah, basically. I mean, sometimes that's worth. Okay, sometimes that's not a heavy cost to pay for that. I mean,
There's more value in that than it seems. But
yeah,
I'm just gonna give
piss
this
off the
game.
AOT player, your locals with this, right? Yeah.
I'm just gonna move on. Would piss off the
Yo,
local.
hey, dude, play this against AOT.
Oh my god! Just destroyed him.
It's funny.
If oh, never mind. That's fine. All right. Next card. Wrong idea when she wakes up. Oh. All your other. Oh no, that's a common,
It's a
isn't it? That's a
vanilla.
vanilla.
It's a
All your other
vanilla.
vanilla level zero oh gain 1 level and 1 500 power, and it's a global
Dude,
500.
it's a 4K level 1.
Yeah. Um, it's just a global 500. I can't. Anyway,
It's a
the
4K
sky,
level 1, dude.
the sky is blue. Kamome, yeah, thank you for that. Global 500, trigger check, climax, give a character 1k for the turn. I would never play this, but there is some value in this. You know what? I'm gonna give this a C minus. There is some amount of value in
Oh,
this
this
card.
guy's so generous to the pirate.
I am generous. All right, she's cute. Okay. Pinky Promise, Sumugi. When another Summer Pockets character attacks, this gains 1k for the turn.
Oof.
I don't think I would ever play this. This is just an F. Like I literally would never play this.
Yeah, you're right.
I would
Okay.
rather play vanilla over this. And no, I'm not kidding. 2-1 vanilla. Um, yeah, this gets a higher rating than the 0-0 because I don't know, it just does. All right, here we
Nice.
go. The event that that
Wait, he has
summons with
different
my
hair in this. That's crazy. He has
yeah,
dreads.
that's probably
Or
seaweed.
like, oh,
Oh my god,
that's
he got dunked in the ocean and came out with seaweed. Have you never watched an anime before?
no.
Choose one of your standing summer pockets characters and use up to two level 0 lower or lower characters in your waiting room. Put them in separate slots on the stage, then send this card. I
Wait,
would never play
technically,
this.
this is a +1.
Uh, yes, but if one of the characters you're summoning, well, you don't actually have
Dude,
to summon these guys,
if
right?
you summon the Umi, if you summon two Umis, right?
No,
Dude, that's
please
value.
don't continue that statement.
Dude,
I'm gonna play
then it
anyway.
becomes a +3.
Be quiet.
Oh my god, that is so much value. I want to see someone do that.
Stop that.
I'm gonna rate this like a D minus, just so someone will try that. I want to see that happen.
You're a bad person. Stop
Someone
that.
make that happen.
Next card. This is Umikato. This is my own. This is my dream. I think that's what the name is. If you have no Summer Pockets characters, you can't play this from hand. Choose a character. That character gains the ability. This does not reverse. Huh.
I
This is
think I talked
this
with you
is
about this kind of effect before. It's like situationally very powerful.
yeah. This is decent. This is like in a lot of instances, it's a sort of anti-damage. Or it
Yeah.
denies people a combo. This is a really powerful effect. The issue is getting it into hand at level 1 is hardly guaranteed. It's just very difficult to do when it's not on like a character
It
counter.
also costs a stock, which is
It also does
which
cost
is
stock,
fairly
which
significant, I think.
it may not be worth it, but say your opponent like on attack they pay a cost and get an on reverse effect like I don't know, the little busters. This card becomes really immense value. So
Yeah.
don't sleep on this card. This card is quite potentially very powerful, and it might be really good in the future if they decide to support this exact.
Yeah. Uh, this is super powerful when it's meta relevant and doesn't really do anything when it's not. So, uh, you know, buyer beware.
All right, that brings us to the end of the Summer Pocket set review, and yeah, thanks for tuning in.